Welcome to this explainer on deconstructing aggregate demand, the four engines of spending. I'm going to act as your macroeconomics educator today, and we're jumping right in to map out a nation's total spending blueprint. Grab your gear, because this is where the real mechanics of an economy actually come alive.
Think about the sheer massive scale of a national economy for a second. Ask yourself, how could we possibly measure the total demand for absolutely everything produced? I mean, it sounds literally impossible, right? But economists actually have a highly specific, structured way to figure this out, and it all relies on understanding what truly powers that economic engine.
All right, let's establish a really crucial definition right off the bat on our mental whiteboard: aggregate demand. Now, this isn't just a giant pile of receipts of what was already bought at the cash register. No, it is the total planned, intended, or desired spending by everyone in the entire economy. We're talking about what people actually desire to purchase when it comes to domestically produced goods and services.
And that brings us to a massive keyword, ex ante. You really want to cement this word in your brain. Ex ante simply means desired demand. It means we are looking at the desired intended demand way before the actual purchases happen. Think of it as the blueprint of intention, which is completely separate from ex post, or what actually occurs after the fact.
Okay, let's set up our graph to visualize this blueprint. We're going to put national income right there on the x-axis and aggregate demand on the y-axis. Setting it up this way is going to let us see exactly how our total planned spending shifts as the overall income of the nation grows.
Let's bring in layer 1, household consumption.
This is the absolute bedrock of the economy, everyday people buying everyday things. And if you picture this on our graph, it's a line sloping upward. Why upward? Well, because consumption, which we label as C, is a positive function of income, or Y. The takeaway here is simple. As we earn more as a nation, we spend more. But because a portion of that income always gets saved, the line slopes up at a steady, predictable angle rather than just shooting straight up into space.
So let's lay down the very first piece of our master equation on the board, C for household consumption.
But hey, households aren't the only ones spending money, right? To build out our next layer, we have to consider what happens when a private business decides to, say, purchase a brand new commercial coffee machine, or when a manufacturer decides to build a massive new factory.
That brings us to layer 2, private investment.
Now, this layer represents the money businesses spend on capital goods, completely driven by profit. But we need to make a quick distinction here. Induced investment fluctuates with income, while autonomous investment is anchored down. It's totally fixed. For our macroeconomic model here, we are assuming investment is autonomous. It's a constant, unaffected by the current income level.
And here is exactly how that plots out. Because autonomous investment, or I, is fixed in the short run, it forms a perfectly parallel, constant vertical gap right on top of our sloping C line. We call this vertical distance AB. It literally doesn't matter if national income is low or high, that vertical distance of investment stays exactly the same.
Watch our foundation grow as we stack private investment I on top. We now have C plus I. Our blueprint is getting taller.
Okay, so who steps in to build the massive infrastructure projects that regular households and private businesses just don't handle? Think about it. Who builds the interstate highways, the water dams, the public schools, and the hospitals?
Enter layer 3, government spending.
Unlike private investment that's out there chasing profit, this autonomous spending is driven by public welfare. So we layer this government spending line G onto our chart, and just like before, it creates another perfectly parallel layer. This adds a steady, constant block of spending, a vertical distance we call BG, that lifts total demand even higher across all income levels.
Our structure is looking pretty powerful now as we lock in this third component G. The stack is now C plus I plus G. But wait, no nation exists in a vacuum. Before our model is actually complete, we have to ask how international trade affects our nation's total desired spending. I mean, we buy things from other countries, and of course, they buy things from us.
Which brings us to our final component, layer 4, net exports.
This simply represents the value of our country's exports minus its imports, or X minus M. We add this final autonomous layer to the very top, establishing one last parallel vertical gap. We'll call this distance GH. The entire aggregate demand line shifts up by this net export amount, capping off our whiteboard drawing and giving us the complete picture of desired spending.
And there we have it, the complete aggregate expenditure.
With all four engines successfully stacked, here is our complete main aggregate expenditure line. A equals C plus I plus G plus X minus M. This brilliantly and visually summarizes how everyday households, profit-seeking businesses, welfare-driven governments, and the entire global market all combine to dictate a single nation's economic momentum. It's a beautiful, scannable equation that maps human behavior and institutional planning right into one single upward-sloping line.
But here is where economic theory meets harsh reality. Actual spending will only be equal to planned spending at perfect equilibrium. So now that you understand the four engines of this equation, ask yourself, what happens to a nation's workforce when these collective layers fail to generate enough momentum to reach full employment? When this total desired demand falls short of what we produce, unintended inventories just pile up, firms slash production, and workers get laid off. The ultimate question is your nation's economic engine running hot enough to keep everyone employed, or are we staring down the barrel of a deflationary gap? Definitely something to think about next time you look at the economy.